Good morning, and welcome to the NYU Stern School of Business. I'm delighted to introduce Julián Castro, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Secretary Castro was sworn in as the 16th Secretary on July 28, 2014. Under Secretary Castro's leadership, the Federal Housing Administration lowered mortgage insurance premiums to make home ownership more affordable for responsible families. HUD also released its new affirmatively furthering fair housing rule to fulfill the promise of the Fair Housing Act, helping families access strong neighborhoods with housing choice vouchers and empowering local leaders with new tools to invest in their communities. Before HUD, Secretary Castro served as mayor of the city of San Antonio. During his tenure, he became known as a national leader in urban development. In March 2010, Secretary Castro was named to the World Economic Forum's list of young global leaders. And later that year, Time magazine placed him on its 40 under 40 list of rising stars in American politics. Secretary Castro received a BA from Stanford University in 1996 and a JD from Harvard Law School in 2000. Please join me in welcoming Secretary Castro to NYU Stern.
Thank you very much, Dean Henry, for your kind words and more importantly for your amazing leadership here at the Stern School of Business. I know that you're doing incredible work. We had an opportunity to talk about some of that, and it's great to see you today. I also want to thank you and everybody else here for ordering up some great Texas weather for me here in New York. Let me also thank all of the students, the business leaders, and community partners in the audience and watching online. I know that we have here our New York State Housing Commissioner, Jamie Rubin. Thank you. Hello. Our New York City Housing Commissioner, Vicky Bin. Thank you. And our New York City Housing Development Corporation President, Gary Rodney. Thank you all very much for being here. I'd also like to recognize HUD's Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Housing, Ed Golding, and his entire team on behalf of everybody at HUD. Where's Ed at? Thank you, Ed. And also to Holly Light, who is our Region 2 Administrator here in New York City. Thank you, Holly. And finally, a huge thanks to the Stern School of Business. I know that this is a tremendous institution. Thank you very much for hosting us today and for doing everything that you can to empower others with the knowledge and the know-how to achieve their own dreams and to make the dreams of others more possible. Thank you, Dean Henry. Well, as students of business history, the Stern community knows better than anyone that our nation has long been considered the world's undisputed land of opportunity. America is where Henry Ford dreamed of making cars affordable for families and invented the moving assembly line to make that happen. It's where two guys in their 20s developed a photo sharing app called Instagram, and 17 months later sold their company for $1 billion, even though they had just 13 employees and no office furniture at the time. And it's where NYU graduate Ursula Burns made her journey from public housing to the corner office at Xerox, where she became the first African-American woman to lead a Fortune 500 company. The countless other stories that you won't read about in a magazine are every bit as telling as those. Young adults who were the first in their family to graduate from college, the baby boomer who rose up the ranks from factory worker to manager, the elderly couple that's retired comfortably in the neighborhood that they love. Without question, America is at its greatest when hard work is rewarded with opportunity. And for generations, HUD has extended this opportunity to folks from all walks of life. This year is a very special one for HUD. 2015 marks our 50th anniversary. In 1965, when President Lyndon Johnson signed the HUD Act into law, he said that our work could give every family a home of dignity, a neighborhood of pride, a community of opportunity, and a city of hope. And though the times have changed since 1965, our commitment to those ideals has not. I'm proud to say that HUD's 8,000 dedicated employees strive every single day to give families the tools to better their lives, and our commitment to home ownership is central to this. The chance to own a home has long been a cornerstone of the American dream. It's represented a place to build a life, an avenue to accumulate wealth, and an accomplishment to take pride in. And for decades, American families have relied on HUD's Federal Housing Administration to make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Over the years, FHA has helped more than 44 million Americans become homeowners. It's supported more than half of all first-time homebuyers. After years of intentionally excluding communities of color, FHA, which is now part of HUD, has become a source of hope by ensuring loans to half of all African American and Latino homebuyers in recent years. It helped build the middle class and opened doors for underserved families that simply would have been closed otherwise. And today, HUD is laser focused on strengthening FHA for the long term and on bolstering a growing housing market so that it works for everyone in our nation. Our approach to making this happen is simple. Have faith in the people who've established a record of responsibility. Level the playing field for those who are ready and willing and able to buy a home. And in doing so, spark billions of dollars in economic activity, from the construction site to the realtor's office to your local hardware store. The President has already put safeguards into place to prevent the abuses that got our nation into the housing crisis. Now we've got to focus on giving folks the opportunity to lift themselves up. That's why FHA lowered our mortgage insurance premiums last January, because too many folks, responsible folks, were priced out of home ownership. Premiums had risen 145% in response to the crisis. FHA was collecting an average of $17,000 in fees on a loan when the average risk was a loss of $7,400, of $4,700. Hardworking Americans of the present were being charged for the mistakes others made in the past. So we lowered our premiums to make homeownership more affordable for responsible families. This move was necessary for both the families being shut out and for our economy as a whole. Now, I work in Washington, D.C. these days, a place where you can't walk down the street without attracting some kind of criticism. So, of course, there were some folks who criticized our mortgage insurance premium reduction. They said it would damage FHA's fiscal health. One person said that it would contribute to a cycle of busts and bailouts. The fact is, nothing could be further from the truth. Today, the housing market is better off because of our actions. Our total volume is up 50% over the first 6 months of the year compared to 2014. And we served 75,000 new responsible borrowers with credit scores of 680 or below. Folks that the conventional lenders were shutting out, like Paul and Tamika Geary. A few years ago, Paul injured his back while on the job and he needed spinal surgery. Then Paul and Tamika lost everything during the housing crisis. The Gearys moved in with family and told me how they fought every morning to keep a smile on their face for their children. And although Paul and Tamika were down, they knew that they weren't done. They didn't give up. Tamika held her job in IT. Paul got better. And they kept working and saving and striving and dreaming. And all that effort paid off when they bought a house thanks to the FHA and its mortgage insurance premium reduction. You see, the Gearys and Americans like them are proof that when you invest in the American people, when you give hardworking folks opportunity in life, our entire nation benefits. Our housing market is full of momentum. Sales of existing homes are the strongest they've been in years. Home prices are at the highest levels since 2007. And families have built nearly $6 trillion in housing wealth since April of 2009. This progress in housing is helping to strengthen the overall economy. A record 68 straight months of private sector growth. More than 13.5 million new jobs, an unemployment rate cut in half, wages on the rise. Our nation is writing a great economic comeback story, and FHA is playing an important part. And we're working to ensure that it's in a strong financial position to keep playing that role for future generations. Now, it's no secret that 2008 was the beginning of some difficult years for the American people. New Yorkers had a front row seat to this turmoil when institutions like Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers collapsed. The financial markets buckled and private mortgage lenders froze. So during that time, FHA stepped up. It gave folks a place to go to refinance or to get credit, and it put a floor under the market. It gave folks a place to get access to credit that they otherwise would not have been able to get. Independent economists say that FHA prevented housing prices from dropping another 25% during that time. Home sales, another 33%. And construction, another 60%. All told, it saved 3 million jobs and $500 billion in economic output. FHA helped rescue the housing market. But that increased exposure also came at a cost. Our mutual mortgage insurance fund, FHA's main funding source, suffered significant losses, largely due to the loans insured from 2007 to 2009. This put FHA's reserves below the congressionally mandated 2% capital reserve ratio. So we took aggressive action to improve our underwriting standards. We introduced a credit score floor. We required a higher down payment from borrowers with a FICO score under 580. And we imposed higher minimum net worth requirements for lenders. And these actions worked. In fiscal year 2014, after falling into the red, FHA got back into the black, thanks to $21 billion in growth to the fund over a 2-year period. And that progress, I'm glad to say, continues today. This morning, I'm proud to announce that in fiscal year 2015, the Federal Housing Administration's Mutual Mortgage Insurance Fund has reached a capital reserve ratio of 2.07%, the first time since 2008 that it's been above the statutory requirement of 2%. I'm pleased to report that we've restored the fund's fiscal health. 2% shows that we found the right balance between strengthening our finances and fulfilling our mission. 2% shows that reducing our annual premiums was the right move for the housing market. And despite what some critics predicted, it didn't hurt our bottom line either. 2% shows that our books of business are among the strongest in our history, with cash reserves going up and delinquencies going down. And 2% shows that FHA is in its best position in years. And looking ahead, we're going to use our strength to serve the American people. That's what we do. We invest, we support, we strengthen. We've been doing it for the last 50 years, and we're building on this legacy every day. I was in New York 3 weeks ago to mark the 3rd anniversary of Hurricane Sandy. I visited the Breezy Point neighborhood of Queens. The storm struck that community very hard. Damaged homes, destroyed businesses, crumbling infrastructure. As you all know, that was one strong hurricane. But the residents of Breezy Point were stronger. They knew that they had to stay. They did stay. They rebuilt. They worked to make their community better than before. And each new day there brings new progress. On the day that I visited, I met a couple, Eamon and Roseanne Cunningham, and along with Mayor de Blasio, I had the honor of handing them the keys to their renovated home. It had been restored with HUD dollars. And after we'd taken some pictures, and as we were about to say goodbye, Mr. Cunningham turned to me and said, "Lyndon Johnson would be proud." And you know, I bet he would be. He'd be proud that we helped the Cunninghams secure a place to call home. He'd be proud that we've kept the dream of home ownership alive during the greatest financial crisis of our lifetimes. He'd be proud that FHA is in a strong place to serve the underserved. I think he'd be proud that we view every day as another chance to make a difference in people's lives. And we're going to keep at it. We're going to keep on empowering, keep on helping, and keep on investing to grow the middle class in our nation and strengthen the housing market so that in the years to come, we can all say about this incredible chapter in our nation's history that HUD and its Federal Housing Administration did its part to ensure that the United States remained the undisputed land of opportunity in this 21st century and beyond. Thank you very much.